Ifeoma was just 15 years old when her world broke apart. Her mother, a kind woman who used to take very good care of her, fell sick one rainy season and never recovered. It was typhoid that turned to something worse. Within weeks, her strong mother became a shadow of herself. The day she died, Ephoma knelt by her mother's lifeless body and cried so hard that even the neighbors couldn't hold their tears. "Mummy, who will I run to when I'm confused?" she wept. "Who will tell me what to do when I want to marry? Who will show me how to bathe my child? Who will stand by me when I give birth?" Nobody had answers. Her father, Mr. Felix Emenike, a quiet teacher from Idiato in Imo State, became withdrawn. He loved his daughter, yes, but grief had taken the best of him. From then on, Ephoma had to grow up fast, helping her father raise her younger siblings, learning to cook by trial and error, and holding on to her mother's Bible and wrapper like they were gold. Years later, after she finished her OND in public administration, Ephoma relocated to Port Harcourt to hustle for a better life. That was where she met Chinedu Emenike, a tall, well-spoken civil engineer from Aka in Anambra State. They met at a friend's traditional wedding. Ephoma was a bridesmaid, struggling with the gele on her head. When Chinedu walked past and teased her, "You look like you're fighting the gele, not wearing it," she laughed. He offered her a drink. That was how it started. Chinedu was smart, gentle, and ambitious. He would call her every morning with sweet greetings like, "How's my sunrise doing today?" She would blush. No one had spoken to her like that in years. Ephoma, though strong, was soft at heart. She hadn't known motherly love in a long time. So when Chinedu pampered her, remembered her birthdays, and prayed with her, she felt safe. Their love grew quickly. Within a year, they were inseparable. When Chinedu decided it was time to get serious, he told her, "Ephoma, I want you to meet my people. I want you to be my wife." She agreed, nervous but excited. The day they traveled to Anambra, she wore her finest lace and carried palm wine like tradition demanded. His father, Chief Emenike, was a warm and cheerful man who welcomed her with open arms. He liked her immediately. But his wife, Madam Nkechi Emenike, short, round, and stubborn, didn't smile once. She served Ephoma food, yes. She even asked her to manage the soup. But there was a coldness in her voice that couldn't be hidden. The truth? Madam Nkechi had already promised her old friend, Madam Uju, that her son, Chinedu, would marry Uju's daughter, Chisom. Chisom had been coming around the house for years, bringing soup, doing chores, calling her Mummy. So when Chinedu brought a stranger from another state, and to make it worse, from Imo, Mama saw it as a betrayal. That night, after Ephoma had gone to sleep, Mama pulled Chinedu aside. "So you want to disgrace me, En?" "Mama, what are you talking about? You promised me you would marry someone I can call my own. What do I tell Madam Uju now? You want to bring a girl from another state and rub it in my face?" Chinedu remained calm. "Mama, I love Ephoma, and she loves me too. She may not be from Anambra, but she has the heart of gold," she hissed. That hiss could boil a goosey. The next day, she met her husband, Chief Emenike, and tried to sway him too. "My husband, we don't know this girl's people well. I don't trust these emo girls. Let's stop this thing before it gets serious." But Chief Emenike refused. "Mama Chinedu," he said, "as long as their hearts align, who are we to stand in their way? You married me from your heart too, not from a promise." Reluctantly, Mama gave a bitter, "Go ahead." But her heart didn't follow her mouth. Despite the tension, Ifeoma and Chinedu got married in a beautiful ceremony. People danced, sprayed money, and praised their union. But behind the lace and wine, cracks had already started to form. Chinedu was the breadwinner, not just for his home, but for his entire family. He paid his sister's school fees. He built a bungalow for his parents. Even his younger brother's wedding expenses were on him. He was always working, traveling, and trying to balance love and responsibility. Ifeoma tried her best. She would cook, clean, and even send food to Mama Chinedu in the village. But no matter what she did, it was never enough. Mama Chinedu would call her friends and say things like, "She's only pretending now. Wait till she gives birth, you'll see her true color." Even Chinedu's sister, Amarachi, never liked her. She called her Omo Imo with a hiss and rolled her eyes whenever Ifeoma entered the room. Ifeoma noticed, but she kept quiet. She told herself, Love covers all things. I will win them over with kindness. And for a while, things were calm. She got pregnant. The joy of motherhood filled the house. Chinadu danced with her in the sitting room when the baby first kicked. They even took pictures together to mark that special day. My queen and our little miracle, he would always call her. But the storm was only sleeping. It wasn't dead. When Ifeoma's ninth month reached, she was ready. Bags packed, baby things arranged, prayers said. She believed she would deliver safely. But childbirth is like the weather. It can change at any time. Labor started gently. Chinadu was in Abuja for a site inspection, but as soon as he heard, he rushed back overnight. Her water broke around 9 a.m., and Chinadu rushed her to the hospital in Port Harcourt. She was shouting, sweating, and crying. She squeezed his hand so tight he almost screamed too, rolling on the bed and holding her waist. Her father-in-law called to pray for her. Her mother-in-law? She didn't call. She only sent one short message through her son. Tell her to push well. In our time, we didn't go to hospital. We squat and push out the baby. But Ifeoma's labor wasn't progressing. Hours passed. The doctor ran some tests and walked out of the labor room with a heavy face. Then suddenly the baby's heartbeat began to slow. The doctor came out with urgency. Sir, your wife is exhausted. The baby is in distress. We need to carry out an emergency cesarean section. Chinadu didn't waste time. Please save them. Just save my wife and child. What can I do to help? He asked. Just sign this consent paper, the doctor replied. Ifeoma's hands trembled. Will I be okay? Will my baby be okay? Chinadu held her tightly. You'll both be fine. God is with us. And just like that, they wheeled her into the theater. The operation lasted less than an hour, but to Chinadu, it felt like forever. 2 hours later, they brought out a beautiful baby girl, fair, soft, and crying like a true daughter of fire. They named her Chisimdi, meaning, God said I should live. Ifeoma was alive but weak. Her lower stomach was stitched, and her legs trembled when she stood. But she smiled. I'm a mother now. My mother would be proud of me wherever she is now. Chinadu cried for the first time in many years. He kissed his wife's forehead gently as she woke up groggily from the anesthesia. You did well, Ife. You're my hero. The next day, Chinadu called his mother. Mama, your grandchild has arrived, a baby girl. She responded with coldness. Okay, I'll come. Just arrange my room for me. 3 days later, they returned home with baby Chisimdi. Friends and neighbors came bearing beautiful gifts to rejoice with them. Ifeoma was sore. She could barely walk straight. Her wound pulled with every step. The nurse advised strict rest. 3 days later, Madame Ketchi entered the house like royalty. She came with a heavy bag, bitter leaf, dry fish, and wrapper. Her face was stiff, but her lips smiled faintly. She looked at Ifeoma lying on the couch and said, So this is how you're enjoying. Thank God for CSO. In our time, we gave birth and still went to the farm. Ifeoma smiled faintly. She was too tired to argue. That first morning, Mama bathed the baby, humming as she poured warm water on Chisimdi. Ifeoma watched and felt joy. Maybe she's finally warming up to me, she whispered to herself. But after that first bath, everything changed. Every day after, Mama would wake up around 10 a.m., ask for tea and crackers, and go back to bed after eating. Ifeoma, still healing from surgery, would be the one cooking, sterilizing bottles, washing baby clothes, and even Mama's wrappers. She couldn't complain. In Nigeria, if you complain, they'll say you don't have respect. Mama would talk loudly on phone to her friends. These girls of today, very weak. Imagine CS just to bring one baby. Now she's lying down like Queen of England. And the worst part? Amarachi, Chinedu's younger sister, came around one weekend and added pepper to the wound. She would roll her eyes at Ifeoma, saying things like, You're lucky Mama is here. If not, your type would have just dumped baby on my brother's head. Ifeoma endured. But one day, while boiling water with the baby tied to her back, her wound began bleeding. She collapsed in the kitchen. When Chinedu came home that evening, he saw bloodstains in the bathroom and found Ifeoma lying on the bed, pale and shivering. He rushed her to the hospital again. The doctor looked at him and said, Your wife hasn't been resting. She's under stress. This is dangerous. She needs full care. That night, Chinedu sat beside his wife's hospital bed and thought deeply. He called his mother the next morning. Mama, I need you to pack your bag and go back. You didn't come to help my wife, you came to enjoy. And I won't watch her die in silence. Mama shouted, so you're chasing your own mother because of a woman? He replied firmly, I'm standing by my wife because she almost died bringing life into this house. And you watched her suffer. That morning, as Madame Mikichi packed her wrappers angrily into her bag, she kept muttering under her breath, imagine, me, that suffered to carry him for 9 months, now sent away like a stranger. Women of nowadays have no shame. She picked up her phone and called her daughter Amarachi. Amara, your brother wants to send me away because of that weakling he married. I told you, she has caged him like a chicken. He's no longer thinking like a man. Amarachi, already not fond of Ifeoma, didn't waste time. Mama, let me come this weekend. Let me see this drama for myself. That girl's not even fine like that. Chinedu didn't respond to any of Mama's insults. He simply sat in the dining room with his hands clasped and his jaw clenched while Ifeoma watched the drama from the bedroom doorway, her heart pounding. She had never seen this side of Chinedu, the firmness in his voice, the quiet anger in his eyes. She knew he was only protecting her, but she also feared what this would cause between mother and son. As Mama dragged her bag towards the door, Ifeoma rushed out and knelt down before Chinedu. Please, please don't send her away, she said, tears already filling her eyes. I'm not strong enough yet. You won't always be around, and I still need help with the baby. She's your mother. Let's not scatter things because of me. Chinedu looked at her surprised. After everything she has done to you? Yes, she nodded, her voice cracking. She's not perfect, but she's a mother. Maybe she'll change. Mama stood at the door, arms folded, pretending to be adjusting her scarf, but her ears were wide open. Chinedu sighed, walked over to his mother, and said quietly, You can stay, but Mama, I beg you, respect this house. And treat my wife with the same honor you want your daughter to receive when she marries. Mama didn't say thank you. She only turned her face and muttered, It's not by force to like somebody. I will stay for the baby. After Ifeoma's emotional plea and Chinedu's reluctant acceptance, Madame Nikachi returned to the house like a cat who just won a fight. She didn't say thank you. She didn't apologize. But for the next few days, she changed, or at least pretended to. She started waking up earlier than usual. She would sweep the living room. She helped Ifeoma clean baby bottles and even boiled hot water for sponge baths. She even gave unsolicited advice on how to mix scent leaf into pap for the baby's stomach. Mama, this is good. Chinedu smiled one evening. You're taking care of her now, and? Madame Nikechi smiled like a saint. Why won't I? She's my daughter too now. I only want her to be strong. Ifeoma was surprised but cautious. She didn't trust the sudden peace. Something in her spirit kept whispering, This woman is playing her role for your husband's eyes, and she was right. By the following week, Chinedu had resumed work fully. The site was far, a 6-hour journey, so he would only return on weekends. The very first Monday after he left, Mama Nkichi returned to her throne of entitlement. That morning, she didn't wake up until 10 a.m. She didn't touch the baby. She didn't boil water. She didn't ask Ifeoma if she'd slept well. Instead, from the room, she shouted, Ifeoma, hope you cooked something hot this morning. I want yam and egg sauce. Don't forget to slice onions well this time. Last one was tasteless. Ifeoma stood by the sink, baby strapped to her chest, her eyes red from another night of broken sleep. Yes, Ma, she whispered, voice dry. By afternoon, Mama had eaten, watched 2 Nigerian movies, and left her plates in the sink. She began again, with insults that looked like advice. You're too slow, the way you carry yourself, Seth. No wonder they opened you up like tinned tomato. In our time, we squatted and pushed. Your baby is crying again. I hope it's not your milk that's bitter from all this laziness. Every evening, she would call Amarachi on the phone and gossip freely. The girl's acting sweet when Chinedu is around, but when he leaves, she just moves like snail. That girl can't last in marriage. By Friday, Ifeoma looked like a shadow of herself. Her cheeks were sunken. Her hands trembled when she tried to cut onions. The baby cried too often, maybe from stress, maybe from the tension in the air. The neighbors noticed. Mama Chinyere, who lived 2 compounds away and had visited a few times during the pregnancy, pulled Ifeoma aside one evening. "My daughter, you look tired. Hope all is well?" Ifeoma smiled faintly. "I'm fine, Mummy, just adjusting." But her eyes said otherwise. Mama Chinyere looked around, leaned closer and said, "Let me tell you, in case you forget, you are somebody's daughter too. Don't let them kill your spirit in the name of culture. Protect your peace." That weekend, Chinedu came home as planned. When he entered the house, he met Mama laughing loudly while watching her usual afternoon series. Ifeoma was in the room, pressing the baby's clothes with one hand, breastfeeding with the other. He went straight to the bedroom, kissed her cheek, and asked, "How was the week?" She smiled faintly. "Good. We're managing." But the baby had developed a rash. The house smelled like neglect, and Ifeoma's voice sounded forced. Later that night, after dinner, he asked his mother casually, "Mama, how are you helping Ife now?" Mama rolled her eyes, stretched her legs, and replied, "My son, I'm doing my best. But you know these girls now. They want to sleep, eat, and snap picture with baby. No energy for real woman work." Chinedu paused. He looked at his wife, who just coughed quietly from the kitchen, and something clicked. His eyes sharpened. He knew his mother had dropped the mask. It happened on a quiet Tuesday morning. Chinedu had returned to work on Monday, and by the next day, the old pattern had resumed. Mama and Kechi had finished eating hot okra soup with pounded yam by 9:30 a.m. and was already lying on the couch, snoring lightly with the television still on. Ifeoma, with swollen feet and aching back, was slowly sweeping the parlor with one hand while rocking her baby with the other. She hadn't eaten breakfast. Her head was hot, her legs were weak, but she kept pushing. At exactly 11:15 a.m., she walked into the kitchen to warm water for baby's bath. But before she could turn on the gas, her eyes suddenly went black. Her ears rang loudly, and before she could call out, she collapsed, hitting her head on the kitchen cabinet as she fell. The baby, strapped loosely to her chest, rolled off gently onto the floor, crying loudly. From the sitting room, Mama Nkechi stirred at the sound of crying. "What is it again? This girl can't even handle one child in peace." She stood up lazily and walked into the kitchen. What she saw froze her legs. Ifeoma was lying flat on the floor, eyes shut, lips pale, barely breathing. The baby was beside her, wailing. Mama screamed, "Jesus, ooh, this girl is dying, oh." She rushed back to her room, grabbed her phone, and called Chinedu. "Chinedu, rush home now. Your wife has collapsed, oh. I think she's dying." Chinedu was still on site, 3 hours away. His heart jumped into his mouth. "What? Mama, what happened?" "I don't know, I just saw her on the floor. I didn't do anything. Oh, she's been moody since morning." Chinedu didn't wait. He left the site, entered his car, and began driving like a madman. Meanwhile, the neighbors had gathered. Someone had already called a keki to take Ifeoma to the hospital. Mama sat beside her in the tricycle, still breathing fast and murmuring, "Gotta beg. I was only correcting her. I didn't mean any harm." At the hospital, the doctor ran tests. She had suffered exhaustion, dehydration, and severe blood pressure drop, all caused by postpartum stress, lack of rest, and poor nutrition. The nurse looked at Madame Nkechi sharply and said, "You're her mother, right? Why is this woman doing everything by herself with a new baby and a fresh CS wound?" Mama stammered. "She said she was strong." The nurse hissed, "You people want to kill your daughters-in-law in the name of tradition. Let me not say anything." When Chinedu arrived, he saw Ifeoma on the hospital bed, her arm attached to a drip, her face pale but alive. He held her hand and whispered, "I'm sorry. I should have never left you alone." Then he turned to his mother. "Mama, this is on you." Mama wanted to defend herself, but the words wouldn't come out. Shame covered her like a wrapper. That night, Madame Nkechi sat alone in the hospital corridor. She thought of her own early days as a young mother, how she too had wept in silence, how her mother-in-law had mocked her then, and now she had done the same thing to someone else's daughter. She didn't cry, but for the first time in a long while, her proud heart cracked. The next morning, she stood by Ifeoma's bed and whispered, "My daughter, I'm sorry." Ifeoma looked at her, too tired to speak, but her eyes held no bitterness. only emptiness. It had been 2 nights in the hospital. Ifeoma was still weak but stable. The baby, who was admitted beside her mother for monitoring, cried less and fed better now that her mother was on fluids and rest. Chinedu barely left her side. He slept on the narrow visitor bench, one leg bent awkwardly on the metal rail, his eyes red from watching both women he loved suffer. Madame Nkechi was different. She stopped forming village lioness. She didn't shout. She didn't sit in the parlor with crossed legs and remote control. She stayed quiet. She fetched water. She even washed her own wrapper. She was thinking, for the first time in years. That morning, when Ifeoma slowly opened her eyes to sit up and feed the baby, Mama Nkechi rushed forward, collected the baby, adjusted Ifeoma's pillow, and helped her sip water with a straw. "Don't stress yourself, my daughter. Let me do it." Chinedu stood by the wall, arms folded, watching. It was the first time he had seen his mother serve with her hands and her heart. Later that day, Madame Nkechi requested to speak with her son privately. They sat outside the hospital ward on a bench unshaded by almond trees. She started slowly. "Chinedu, I failed you." He blinked. "Mama?" "Yes. I was not a good mother-in-law to your wife. I came with bitterness, with pride. I judged her too early, and I almost caused something unforgivable." She paused, rubbing her palms together nervously. "I didn't want to admit it, but I was angry. Angry that you didn't marry Chisholm. Angry that your wife is from another state. But now look at me. I nearly buried my daughter-in-law and left your child motherless." Tears filled Chinedu's eyes. He never expected those words from his mother. She sniffed, wiped her eyes with her wrapper, and added, "I will never treat her like a stranger again. I swear on your late grandmother's grave." That same evening, Amarachi arrived with her usual Slay Queen confidence. Her hair was braided into long, feet-in cornrows, lashes blinking like butterflies, and her jeans ripped intentionally at the thighs. She walked into the hospital ward, looked around, and hissed. So it was that serious?" Chinedu didn't answer. He just looked at her with quiet disappointment. Mama Nkechi pulled her aside outside. "Sit down, Amarachi." "Mama, I'm tired. I've been in traffic for hours." "Sit down." Amarachi obeyed. "Let me tell you something. You see Ifeoma? That girl you've been gossiping about? She's 10 times stronger than we gave her credit for." "Mama, please don't start. Shut up and listen." Amarachi flinched. She hadn't heard the tone from her mother in years. That girl carried a baby through surgery, almost died from stress, and still found the strength to defend me before your brother. If she hadn't begged him to let me stay, I'd have gone back to the village in shame. She has heart, Amarachi, the kind I never taught you to have. Amarachi looked away. She doesn't treat you bad, yet you and I mocked her. Why? Because she's from Emo? Because she's not loud like you? Or because she loves in silence? Silence sat between them like a weight. You better change, Mama finished. One day you'll marry, and I pray you never meet a mother-in-law just like how I used to be. When Ifeoma was discharged a few days later, a different woman returned home. But even more surprising, she returned to a different home. Mama Nkechi had washed the curtains. The kitchen smelled of fresh soup. Amarachi had swept the corridor and folded the baby's clothes neatly on the sofa. I made pap for you, Amarachi said shyly. You can take it when you're strong enough. Ifeoma blinked. You made pap for me? Yes, Madame Nkechi said from behind. She'll be doing the morning shift now. You won't do anything in this house for the next 3 weeks. Even if you want to. Ifeoma didn't know when tears started rolling down her cheeks. Thank you, she whispered. God bless you. Mama walked up to her and held her tightly. You're my daughter now, Ifeoma. Not in-law. Daughter. They cried together. Even the baby blinked quietly, as if she could sense the peace returning. 2 weeks later, the entire family sat around the dining table. Baby Chisimdi was lying peacefully in her cot. Ifeoma looked healthier. Her cheeks were fuller. She smiled more. She laughed louder. Chinedu served pepper soup while Amarachi passed the water bottles. Mama Nkechi blessed the food. For the first time in my life, she said, I feel like I'm part of a real family. Not just blood, but love. They all clapped gently, and as they ate, Ifeoma turned to Chinedu, squeezed his hand, and said softly, "Thank you for fighting for me, even when I didn't know how to fight for myself." He kissed her forehead. "You're worth the fight, Ify, always." As baby Chisimdi slept peacefully in her cot, wrapped in pink and breathing softly, Ifeoma looked around the room. At her once harsh mother-in-law, now gently folding wrappers, at Amarachi now laughing freely and setting the table, at her husband who never left her side. She smiled. She had walked through fire and somehow came out stronger. She didn't just survive childbirth. She survived bitterness, judgment, loneliness, and silent battles no one could see. And now, through love, patience, and truth, she had found her peace. Moral lessons to remember. Remember that childbirth is not a competition. Every new mother, whether through CAS or natural delivery, deserves rest, love, and full support. Omugwo is service, not entitlement. Don't enter someone's home to be pampered when your role is to help. Behind every daughter-in-law is someone's beloved child. Treat her the way you want your own daughter to be treated. Pride and tribalism destroy good families. Let love, not bitterness, lead your heart. True strength is knowing when to change. There's no shame in apologizing and becoming better. The story may have ended, but the lesson lives on in every home, every family, and every heart that listens. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.